Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra Unit 7.6 Notes Day 2. We're continuing our discussion about factoring quadratic trinomials with the leading coefficient equal to 1 and not equal to 1. Okay, so we're going to be going back and forth showing you examples where the leading coefficient is equal to 1 and you're allowed to use the shortcut, and when it's not equal to 1 where the shortcut is not allowed. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So with example number 1, we've got n squared plus 17n plus 60. Now, the first thing we always do is check to see if there's a GCF. In this case, there isn't. So we would multiply a times c, which gives us 60. And we write down all the factors. So it's 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, 6 and 10. There's a lot of them. Okay, so with that, we want numbers that multiply to 60 but add to get to 17. So which group is that? And remember, it's got to be true in both cases. Okay, you should be getting 5 times 12. Okay, now once we do that, the shortcut states that what those two factors are what your two binomials break down to. It might be like, Mr. Grice, I don't believe you. Okay, well, let's put it down there and I'll show it to you. Normally, we would split the middle term. So n squared plus 5n plus 12n plus 60. Split it. Factor out the GCF, which is n. The n comes out front. And we're left with n plus 5. Okay, in the back, we would factor out the GCF now of 12 and 60. What's the GCF? 12. And we would get n plus 5. And well, what do you know? N plus 5. There we go. And the ends. Magic! Okay, but that only works when our leading coefficient is 1. Because let's look at 6. All right, so for number 6, is there a GCF? Nope. So we need to do the factors of 2 times 30, which is 60. I'm going to cheat over here. You guys have to rewrite all that. I, on the other hand, have the power of technology. Okay. So I am now looking for numbers that multiply to get to 60 and add up to get to 17. Well, what do you know? It's the same set. It's 5 and 12. Okay? But now when we split the middle term, watch what happens. We have 2n squared plus 5n plus 17n plus 30. Not 17. That's supposed to be 12. I'm sorry, guys. Thankfully, I caught it right away. All right, let's split it down the middle. The GCF of the front is n, so n comes out, and we're left with 2n plus 5. Okay, now the GCF of 12 and 30, it's not 12. What number goes into both? You should get 6. And it's a positive 6. And the remainder is 2n plus 5. Remember our little check right here to make sure that we did it right. We get 2n plus 5, and the other binomial is n plus 6. Okay, So when we're doing that shortcut, we have to make sure that the leading coefficient isn't 1. Okay? All right, let's scroll down and do number 2. Okay, so we do A times C, which is 35. The factors of 35 are 1 and 35 and 5 and 7. Okay, so we're looking for numbers that multiply to get to a negative 35 and add to get to negative 2. And remember that negative 2 comes from our B term. Okay, so what is it? Well, it's 5 and 7. Well, which one gives us a negative 2? Okay, that's with a negative 7. And so our leading coefficient, that's kind of hard to see, is 1. So I can go straight into the shortcut of saying that this is x plus 5, x minus 7. Okay, let's look at number 7. What's our leading coefficient? 5. Okay, so the shortcut will not work. Let's multiply, and we get, once again, we get 35. We just did the factors, 1 and 35, 5 and 7. Let's make that look like a 3. So numbers that multiply to get to a negative 35 and add to get to a negative 2. So once again, it's 5 and negative 7. This part's the same. Okay, but we have to split the middle term because our leading coefficient, not 2, is not 1. Okay, so we get positive 5x minus 7x minus 7. Okay, so what's the GCF of the first group? Should see that we can pull out a 5x, and then the remainder would be x plus 1. And the GCF of the back is a negative 7. And after we divide that out, we get x plus 1. Okay? So those two binomials match, which means we did everything right. Our final answer is 5x minus 7, x plus 1. Okay. Let's look at 3. Always ask yourself, is there a GCF? And in this case, there's not. So go ahead and do A times C. We get 18, 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. So out of those, which ones multiply to get to 18 and add up to get to negative 9? Did you get 3 and 6? But Mr. Grice, they add up to get to negative 9. They do. And that's why they're both negative. Okay? So my leading coefficient is 1, which means I can go straight into the shortcut to w minus 3 and w minus 6. Okay. Why don't you guys go ahead and try number 8 on your own? Pause the video, and good luck. Okay, so you should have gotten 3 and 6, and I already split the middle term. So now I'm just going to take out the factors. The front, we had a w that we can take out. And we're left with 2w minus 3. And then on the back, my leading coefficient is negative, which means I can take out a negative. And I would take out a negative 3. And then we're left with 2w minus 3. Okay? Right there shows that we did the problem right. And so my final answer is 2w minus 3, w minus 3. Okay, so remember the shortcut only works when your leading coefficient is equal to 1. All right, number 4. Ask yourself, is there a GCF? In this case, there is. Okay, so we have to take out a GCF, and GCF is 2. So the 2 comes out front, and then we're left with m squared plus 8m plus 7. Okay? And then we do the same thing. We multiply. We get 7. Factors of 7 are 1 and 7. So what numbers add up to 7 or multiply to 7 but add up to 8? Well, there's only one set, and that's 1 and 7. Okay? So then the 2 stays out front, and we're left with m plus 1, m plus 7. Okay, so even if there's a GCF, we can still do that shortcut. All right, what about 9? What's the GCF? There is one. We can take out a 3. So the 3 comes out front, and we're left with 2m squared plus 7m minus 4. Is my leading coefficient 1? Nope. So when you multiply, you get 8. 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. Which numbers multiply to get to negative 8, but add up to get to 7? Okay, it's 1 and 8 with a negative 1. So we have to split the middle term. I'm going to bring the 3 all the way down so it stays in my answer. So we get 2m squared minus 1m plus 8m minus 4. Okay, the GCF of that first group is m. The m comes out, and we're left with 2m minus 1. And then the GCF of the back is a 4. So it's a positive 4, it comes out front, and then we're left with 2m minus 1. So our final answer would be the 2m minus 1, m plus 4. And remember the order of that last part, it doesn't matter. Okay? All right. Number 5, you guys are all on your own. Go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. Okay, so the first thing you should have done was factored out the GCF of y. The y comes out front, and then you're left with y squared plus 5y minus 24. Okay, I've multiplied a times c to get 24, and the factors that add or multiply to negative 24 and add to positive 5 are negative 3 and positive 8. Okay, and since my leading coefficient is 1, that means I can do the shortcut. So my final answer is y times y minus 3 times y plus 8. All right, Number 10. Once again, you guys are all on your own. Go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. Okay, and then when you're all done, first you should have factored out the GCF of y. Find the numbers that multiply to get 5 and add to -6. And then you end up getting y times 5 minus y times y plus 1. Or y minus 1. Right? Yep. Sorry, guys. I forgot that that leading coefficient was negative. Okay? So, that's it for the notes. Now, I know the back side. Whoop, those are the bells, which means we're done. Backside is your homework. Okay? So if you have any questions, please come see Ms. Carranza or myself. Otherwise, this is Mr. Grice, signing off for Algebra, Unit 7.6 Notes, Day 2. Thanks for watching.